Everyone, so welcome to today's webinar. We've got a great one lined up for you today. We've got loads we're going to pack into the next hour or so. It's planned to be around about an hour. It may be a bit quicker, maybe a bit shorter. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end as well. But what we do here at Business Nation is we're trying to bring together great resources, great tips, great learnings to help you and your business completely free, just because this is a great opportunity for us all to be improving our skills and improving our business. We're all in this lockdown phase. And one of the things which we get asked a lot about, both in my business sort of career and through the Business Nation network, is all about social media. So we thought, what a great opportunity to do some lessons or trainings all about social media. So we've turned to one of our in-house experts, but someone I've worked with a lot over the last year and have learned a lot from myself. And it's someone who has built her own digital agency, a very successful agency, focusing on what you're about to learn today. So this is not just theory, this is real life, practical, constructive, and really easy to implement tips you can learn today. And it's been broken down into 3 bite-sized chunks to make it something that you can implement yourself. You don't need to be an expert to do this. And the impact it can have on your business is pretty extreme. We all know how important social media has been up until the corona situation, but I think since then it's become even more important to all of our businesses. We've all turned to social media to get the latest news, updates, to build our businesses, to keep in contact. But there is a lot more to social media than just Facebook. So today you're going to learn 3 great tips about how to really grow your business. I'll say very quick and easy. And Rebecca, like I say, has done this not just once, not just twice, but many, many times before for lots of companies of all sorts of shapes and sizes. So if you work in travel, this is absolutely applicable to you. It's something we do already. And if you don't work in travel, then this is absolutely applicable to you as well, because these skills are not unique to our industry, travel. They are great tips for any sector. So listen closely to what Rebecca has to say, because it is gold dust. It seriously can improve the value of your business, and you can start to implement it from the moment the webinar finishes. And I think you're going to find it so simple. You can ask questions. You can also message through the Business Nation network of sites. If you haven't already found your local Business Nation Facebook group, then go on to Facebook, search for Business Nation, and you'll see a whole list of Business Nation groups appear from all over the country. They are groups set up to support local business communities. We've also got our national group as well, but find your local business group, support it, completely free, and we're sharing lots of information, guidance, ideas all across the country, and keeping business owners and entrepreneurs connected in this interesting time that we're in. So that's enough from me. Like I say, check out the Business Nation Facebook group local to you. You'll find it really useful. But now I'm going to have great pleasure in handing over to Rebecca, who is going to teach you some fantastic social media skills. So Rebecca, over to you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Steve, for that introduction. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm really looking forward to going through this with you all and hopefully giving you some value. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. Okay, so if someone could just jump into chat and just let me know that everybody can see this screen that I'm now sharing with you all.
It's all looking good, Rebecca.
Yep, everybody can see that. Yeah, I'm just going to hide that for a minute. Okay, brilliant. So yes, we're going to be talking today about 3 free ways you could be getting your business more attention online. So for some of you, this might be a revelation, which is great. For others, the points might be just a great reminder in what we should be focusing on, because I know doing, online marketing activity can sometimes feel like there's so many things to be doing. What should we be focusing on? So without further ado, just before we start, I know that Steve already covered it a little bit, so thank you for that, Steve, in the introduction. But I just want to, for those of you that don't know me, a brief introduction. How can I be here today talking about these things with you? As Steve mentioned, co-founded a sales and digital marketing agency working with lots of different types of businesses. Also co-founded an ecotourism platform, so a lot of attention spent on how do we get awareness online, and obviously my current role very much focused in digital strategy. So today we're going to ask ourselves a number of things. I'm going to go through some questions with you just to really set the scene. So when we come to think about doing online marketing activity for our businesses, what's the first thing we think of? So obviously I can't actively have that conversation with you now, but just have a think about what's the first thing that pops in your mind. For some of you, for most of you, I imagine social media is going to be one of those things. So let's ask ourselves, what else is there other than posting on social media to get attention online? And another question we're going to ask ourselves is, where can we best invest our limited time and resource as businesses to make a real difference? So that's what we're going to be covering today. Just setting the scene a little bit more about how this webinar is going to go. We're going to focus on 3 actionable points, and each one's going to start with a question. There will be an important bonus point at the very end, so very worthwhile staying to the very end, not just for the 3 actionable points. And there'll be some polls to interact with, so please be ready for that. Ready with your cursor to interact with those polls. Great. So, like I said, each point we're going to start with a question, and the first question I wanted to put to you is, how powerful are referrals or recommendations to you? So I'm going to submit a poll now. It's my first time doing it, so let me just okay, so you should be able to see a poll there. And we're asking, what percentage of consumers do you think in the latest survey trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations? If you go ahead and select one of the following, got a couple of votes still coming in, so about 70% of you have voted so far, so just waiting for a few more. And then I'm going to share what people think for that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, and then I'm going to share those results. So yeah, it looks like the majority of you think around 61 to 80% of online reviews trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So that's quite interesting because it's actually higher than that. I'm going to just jump back into my So it's actually more than that. It's actually 88% of online consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So this brings us on to the first action, which is gather, monitor and respond to online reviews. Now, this is something that some of you might be thinking, well, that's obvious. However, for all the years I've been working within digital marketing and working with different companies, this continues to be something that people do once and then leave by the wayside, as opposed to do it continuously. So this is something that I want to talk about action one, which is gather, monitor and respond to online reviews. So why did this make it into the top 3? Well, intrinsically, online reviews are linked to social proofing. And if social proofing is something new to you, I'm just going to run through that definition. It's where people assume the actions of others in an attempt to reflect correct behaviour of a given situation. So you could relate that to when a queue forms, people tend to join it, maybe not even understanding what that queue's for, but it all links to this social proofing, and online reviews is very much a part of that. The very presence of reviews makes business obviously more trustworthy. Those voices carry more weight than anything you could say about your business yourself. We know that 92% of consumers read online reviews. And we actually know that people read doesn't matter what sector, up to 10 reviews before making a decision. So it's a really important part of it. And the very presence of online reviews on your actual website, as opposed to a copy paste, we're going to come back to that, but actual reviews on your website will increase your conversion rate. And what do I mean by conversion rate? I mean that the online visitor that comes to your website takes an action. Now, that action could be subscribing to a newsletter, it could be click to call to getting a call booked with your sales team, it could be purchasing. A conversion can be whatever it means to you, but it's actually a visitor taking some kind of action on your website, which is the whole point of having a website. So we know that the presence of reviews makes a huge difference to someone actually converting. And that's why this made it into my top 3 of actions you should be taking. So maybe take a minute to think about what reviews you have online about your business. What date were they? What was the last date of the latest review you had? How much time as a business do you really invest into not just gathering reviews, but monitoring them, responding to them, and continuously taking that action again and again? Now, the actionable steps to take. So even for some of you that are already collecting reviews, this is going to be still something you can do when I talk through these actions, but people that have invested little time or no time at all, this is all going to be useful for you. So the first step is get yourself a free profile set up. Now, before you do that, research the right one that's for you. And what I mean by that is there's a whole host of different third-party platforms which you can start your profile for free. Trustpilot, there's reviews.io, there's Yelp, there's one called Bizarre Voice. There are so many out there. However, depending on whether you're in e-commerce, whether you're in travel, whether you're in B2B, each platform tends to excel depending on those sectors. So research what's the right platform that really does well in your particular sector and get yourself a free profile set up on it. Now, people usually ask me, well, I'm already on Google My Business reviews. I'm already, I've got Facebook reviews. Well, very well, but there's more than just one review platform to consider. You don't want 10 different review platforms, but being present on 2 or maybe even 3 is definitely a positive thing to do. Don't just focus your reviews in just Google My Business or just Facebook or just Trustpilot. Think about more than one type of review platform because not everybody goes to the same place to find you. The next is find the right time to ask. So what I mean by that is, for example, in the travel industry, it's been noted that you can actually, best time to ask is on the day of the booking and not after the holiday. In other types of businesses, it might be a certain time after the project's finished or before the project started, or whatever it is. You need to think about your sector and your types of customers and finding the right time to ask them, because it's not always obvious what that is. Then an obvious point, ask, which a lot of companies don't end up doing. So make sure you actually take the time to regularly ask, and it not just be a once a year or once a month thing. Find time to consistently put into this for your business. Then what you want to make it your next point is make it really, really easy to do. And what I mean by that is the one click. So I'm just going to use Google My Business, as a lot of people use that. They've got reviews on there. And what you can do is you can click on your Google My Business, as somebody would see it as the consumer, click on your reviews, and then you'll see a window pop up. Take the URL from that, and you can put it as a hyperlink in your email. So somebody could receive an email from you, please give us a review. It's really easy, really quick. They click it and instantly pops up your Google My Business and ability for them to review. And that's what I mean by a one click. It's got to be easy if your customers are going to do it. If you send them an email saying, please head to our Google My Business and leave us a review, they're just not going to do it. It takes too much time, too much thought. It's got to be the one click rule. One click can leave a review for you. Now, review platforms like Trustpilot, for example, which I'm very familiar with, has systems, if you're on their paying version, has systems in which you can actually send automatic reviews out, so you don't even have to worry about it, and they use the one-click rule as well. So I've given you there a way to do it for free, but you can also do it through platforms like Trustpilot. So that's important. It must be easy to do if you're going to be successful at gathering reviews. Then my next action is follow up and ask again. So again, I've seen it in the past, a lot of businesses ask and then they just give up. There's nothing wrong with following up and asking a second time. People lead busy lives, they've got lots going on, and sometimes it's useful to remind them. And if they're going to give you a review, that's so valuable to your business, social proofing, that it's worth making the effort to give an extra follow-up and asking your customers again. And then point number 7, for some of you that may be gathering reviews already, it still surprises me to this day the amount of businesses that don't invest in responding to reviews. Take the time to thank them. That will not mean just something to them, but this means a lot to people that then go in and read your reviews, to see that you've taken the time to thank them, to respond, to acknowledge their presence. Doesn't just get noticed by the person that left the review, but the people that actually then go on to read those reviews. So have a look at your existing reviews if you have any, and did you respond to them? My next actionable step is, of the reviews you do have or that you do get, use that response as a way to educate others. What I mean by that, you don't want it to become a sales pitch, absolutely not. But once you've thanked that person, maybe subtly refer to a type of product or service they used. So as somebody that came on to look at your online reviews could see that, oh, okay, that person used that kind of product or that kind of service. And that would then help them to find out more about you other than just what the person said about you. So let me give you an example. Let's say somebody leaves a review about a hotel and they've had a great holiday and they really enjoyed spending time at the bar, for example. In the response to that review, you could say, thank you, we're glad you had a great holiday, etc., etc. Yes, you know, we've got a great cocktail menu there and our very popular cocktail's this, and it was great that you could share that with us. So you're pointing very subtly to something within that experience that someone else might find valuable to learn about you and your service and your product. And my last actionable step is repurpose the reviews into a graphic, share it on the website, or maybe even share it in a weekly newsletter. What I see a lot of businesses do still is they'll have reviews, great valuable reviews, and they'll just let them sit there. Take those reviews and repurpose them, put them into a smart graphic, share them on a website, do something with that review. Don't just leave them in their current form. If you're using a platform like Trustpilot, for example, utilizing their logo and adding that within the graphic certainly puts a lot more weight on it, other than just a copy paste. But even if you're not using Trustpilot, it's still worth taking the time to repurpose those reviews into as many forms as you possibly can. Can you add them in case studies, documentation? So do something more with those reviews. So even though we're talking about a very simple action here, collecting, gathering, responding to reviews, I can guarantee the majority of businesses are not taking those 9 actions. They might be taking a couple, but not all 9. So it's definitely worth reviewing your reviews. I just want to bring it back to social for a minute. Even though we're not talking about social media today, if you're getting reviews, you'll be able to create eye-catching graphics and posts, which you then can share on social media. This is just an example. You can use something like Canva, which is a free tool. Take a picture, add your reviews on top, and then share that on social media. That's a way to repurpose a review in other ways that someone might see it. So someone that might not see it on your website would see it on social. Someone that sees it on social might not see it on Google My Business. So you want to use that as many times as you can. Okay, so that concludes point number 1. Hopefully some of you have sparked some ideas in your mind of what else you could be doing. And I'm going to jump into our second point. We're going to start with a question. So, true or false? 47% of buyers viewed 1 to 2 pieces of content before making a decision. So just to reiterate, what do we mean by content? Content can be anything from a blog article, an explainer video, a case study, some reviews. There's lots of different types of content, but something about that company. For example, let's use blog articles. So 47% of buyers viewed 1 to 2 pieces of content before making a decision. If you could cast your votes on this poll that I'm now going to be sharing with you. And then I'm going to share those results. Got a couple more votes still coming in. Okay. So the majority of people put true. Okay, interesting. So that's actually not the case. It's actually between 3 and 5, and that's continuing to increase. So it's a lot higher than you think. Typically, customers, about half, most buyers are looking at between 3 and 5 pieces of content before they make a decision. So a lot higher than most of you thought. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide those results. Go back to my presentation. So the fact, small businesses that blog, for example, a type of content, have been reported to get 126% more lead growth than those that don't. And that's just one type of content, blogging. There's lots of other different types. And that shows you, just looking back at the previous point that we did there, 3 to 5 pieces of content before someone makes a decision. And looking at this type of fact really raises the importance of it and brings us to action number 2, which is always be creating useful quality content. I'm going to say that again. Always be creating useful, quality content for your customers. So before we go into that a little bit more, I just want to ask the question, why did making content make it into the top 3? Well, great content is great for search engine optimization for your website. Now, what do we mean by search engine optimization, or SEO for quick? This is the process of optimizing your website to get organic, or what we call unpaid traffic. So traffic you haven't paid for through a Facebook ad or anything like that, organic unpaid traffic to your website from search engine results. So somebody types in something, what they see in the results page, they then click through. That's all the process of search engine optimization. The best way to think about it is to think of Google as a librarian. So that librarian is constantly working through lots of books, or in this case, websites, to crawl and figure out where to categorize and organize books. And Google does that as a librarian, thinks about websites, understands them and categorizes them. And that's all part of an SEO process. And great content allows us to help with that process. So creating good content is the single most impactful thing your SEO strategy impactful thing you can do to support your SEO strategy. And the most important thing, it doesn't cost you a penny, because what we're talking today is about the free things you could be doing. It's about creating consistent quality content that builds trust and loyalty. It positions you as an expert in your field, and consumers like to be informed. And they really appreciate free, valuable content. A company that's investing in that, people really do appreciate that you've taken the time to do. So that's why it made it into my top 3. Now, I just want to talk about different types of content. So we've got blog articles, which some of you might be doing. You've got podcasts, got infographics. Infographics are literally how it sounds. It's a graphic with information, so it's very visual. Got downloadable guides, you've got short videos, we've all got iPhones and webcams where we can capture videos. It doesn't need to be high production. You've got testimonials. And what I want to focus on at the moment, just as an example, is blog articles, because it's not just about writing a random blog article. There's a real approach that we have to take to do it properly. So if we're going to focus on blog articles, I just want to first talk about SEO practices and how that's evolved, because a lot of the time people say, oh, it's keywords. Well, actually things have evolved since then, and there's a specific way we need to approach content. So we call it the topic cluster model, and after this you're welcome to YouTube topic cluster models for some videos about it. But essentially what we're talking about here is we have a pillar page that acts as your main hub, as you can see with this diagram. And then you've got that main hub that's an overarching topic, and then you have cluster content all the way around the outside. And I'm going to give you an example to put that into play in a moment. But this is really about acknowledging that SEO has evolved and that we need to approach it in this way, not just for the search engine optimization to keep that happy, but also for an architectural process and for the user that comes to visit your website to understand. This helps with that as well. So I'm going to use 2 examples. I'm going to start with the travel industry, and then we're going to talk about a completely different industry to show this can be applied to any type. So for example, I work in the travel industry. I'm going to be thinking about my pillar content, and my pillar content is going to be an overarching topic. So I know from my research that family holidays is a very popular search, and I want to work on that particular keyword. So the 3 best family holidays I've tried and tested myself could be an example of a pillar. Then we're going to start to work in this cluster topic. So we're going to look at, for example, 10 reasons why Mexico is a great destination for a family holiday. As you can see, I'm still using those keywords. However, I've teased that out into a cluster, which is a bit more specifically. But the most important thing is here, I'm going to hyperlink in between. So I'm going to link them together. So for example, if I'm reading the 3 best family holidays article, within that article, I could click on a word that literally takes me to the other article, which is about Mexico. So you interlink them. Then we could do my tips and tricks for ensuring a stress-free family holiday. So completely different, but still relates to the main thing we're talking about here, which is family holidays. And finally, the best destinations and hotels for an eco-friendly family holiday could be another example. So they're just examples and ideas to how you would build out your content strategy. I'm going to give you just another quick example. Cleaning industry, completely different. However, I know that through research, eco-cleaning is a very popular term people are now looking at when they come to look at cleaning companies. So the ultimate guide to eco-cleaning could be where we start. That's the pillar piece of content where we cover lots of topics generically about that. And then we're going to look at the cluster. So the 10 best eco-cleaning products out there that you can trust. So that could be a really useful one. We could look at 7 benefits to eco-cleaning in your own home, or simple tips for eco-cleaning in your office space. These are all relating to the overarching topic, but we're building out and teasing out to create more useful content that might capture someone. Let's say, for example, someone through their search online comes across the 10 best eco-cleaning products out there. Through reading that, I will be able to then click through back to the pillar content, and they'll all hyperlink together. So it makes it very easy to discover new content within the company. So hopefully those 2 examples have given you an idea of how that would be built out, and you can apply it to your own. So I'm going to go through to the actionable steps to take. So first one, if you're thinking about your content strategy, write down the biggest questions your customers have, or what we call their pains. What are their obstacles? What are the things that would drive them to potentially consider your product, your solution, your service? Write them down so they're clear in your mind. Then look at what people are searching for online. So you could see that I had picked family holidays, I'd picked eco-cleaning products for those particular examples. But for your own sector, you can look at tools like SEMrush, Bloomberry. There's lots of tools out there to find what people are looking for in your sector. You can also type in Google yourself a couple of keywords and see what drops down, what comes up, because Google will also be able to show you what people are searching through that. So think about that. And then once you've got those 2 points, think about the ideas for your pillar content, that middle section, an overarching topic which you can then tease out from there. So for each pillar content, create subtopics related to that piece, as I showed you in that diagram. Then create the content. That's obviously an important step, taking the time to do that. And point 6, share the content in as many ways as possible. So this is coming back to repurposing. So you've got obviously your blog article, and then what can you do that? You could put that on the website, you could share it in an e-newsletter, you could create a graphic and talk about it on social media to bring people back to your blog. So think about not just creating the content, but repurposing it and getting it out to as many platforms as possible to really get the value of the time you've invested. Yes, I've just given you an example there. So if you've created a blog and you've taken the time to create that content, why not create a short video on YouTube? YouTube is incredibly successful and powerful in how-tos. So there's no reason not to repurpose it into something like YouTube once you've created a blog article. I just want to bring it back to social for a minute. Because if you've created a blog article, like I said, you can create graphics. So Canva is a great tool which will help you with things like that. Okay, so we're going to come on to point 3. And we're going to start with a question, as we usually do. So true or false, according to Google, nearly 50% of all searches are local. I'm launching that poll now. So what do I mean by that? Searches, so when you jump onto the laptop and you start searching, or on your mobile, what percentage of those are local? So are relevant to searches for people nearby. Okay, great. Got a couple more people still voting. Okay, I'm gonna share those results with you now. So true, definitely, yeah, about 59% of you there. And they're absolutely right. Okay, I'm just going to hide results. So you were right there. According to Google, nearly 50% of all searches are local. That was true. So I'm just going to show this before I talk about the fact. This is what you're all probably very familiar with. This is a typical search, and this is what we call the 3-pack. So this is how it would look on mobile, on laptops. We call this the 3-pack. And we know that the Google My Business 3-pack, which you've just seen, is a pack of results which appears in 93% of all local searches. So we know that at least 50% of searches are local, but of that 50, we know that 93% of those appear in this 3-pack that Google introduced a number of years ago. So this is what we're trying to work to get within. And the way that we do that to begin with is we create a Google My Business profile. Now, for some of you, this might be revolutionary, which is great. And for some of you, you think, well, I've already done that. That's not giving me any value or help. However, I'm going to talk about ways in which we can elevate that, not just creating it and leaving it, but how do we then elevate that? Because at the end of the day, this is a free tool. It doesn't cost us any money, so we'd be crazy not to. So why did this make it into the top 3? Firstly, it gives your business credibility and authority online. People are very familiar, very accustomed to seeing these profiles. And I probably showed you that picture and you think, I've seen that a million times before, so has everybody else. And if somebody searches you and your business isn't registered on Google My Business and you don't have a profile, then that could be questioned to your credibility and authority online. If you get into the search results, it's obviously a great way to drive people to your website for free. It's not a paid ad you're having to invest money in. This is a way for you to drive people straight to your website. Google My Business is essential for local SEO, and in the fact that we talked about local SEO is a big thing that people are searching. It's not just nationwide, they are searching for things local to them, and we want to gain that attention online. There is no quicker, no more effective way of you getting started than setting up your Google My Business, or what we're going to talk about is elevating it. If you're not claiming and optimizing your Google My Business listing, it's a bit like saying no thanks to someone offering you a completely free sign of your restaurant, of your business off a huge highway. So really, this is something that I want to emphasize is important to all types of businesses. I've just put a link there. I don't know if you're familiar with Neil Patel, but he's a thought leader in online strategies, and he's got a really good piece on optimizing your Google My Business. So it might be worth checking out after this. So apologies for the blurriness of this, but hopefully it gets across the point. So this is just a random company, and I'm using this to show you that, yes, this business has Google My Business. You can see in the right-hand side. This is how it would look on a desktop, of course. But you can see it's very limited in information. We've got some reviews, great. We've got some opening times, we've got a phone number. However, we've got some images, but we're not utilizing it in the best way possible. So this is an example of one which could be elevated far more. And maybe after this, you can go away and review your own or set one up, which we'll talk through. So here's an example of how it would look on mobile if you came across someone's Google My Business. And I just want to tease out some things here. So we can see we've got some call to actions, call directions. You're probably very familiar with that. We've got reviews, we've got a description, we've got opening times. We've also got questions and answers. So this is a feature where you're able to get people to ask very popular questions and give them answers. And this can be a very quick way in which to grab someone's attention outside your opening hours. And that would be very useful to someone that comes across you. They don't need to go into your website. They don't have to take the time to go deeper. You can utilize this question and answer section on your Google My Business. So that's just one example of ways to elevate your own profile. So I'm going to talk about the actionable steps to take. So number one, create a Google My Business profile. Very important. But for those who've already done it, we're going to go through some other steps. Ensure your information is accurate, that it's comprehensive and it's up to date. So worth jumping onto your Google My Business and just having a look at whether you can make any adjustments, or maybe you haven't looked at it for years. It's worth going back and having a look. Then talking about regularly asking for reviews and responding to them. Go back into your Google My Business and look at the date of your latest review, because that will play on people's minds when they look at those reviews and how much weight they have. Not only the date, but maybe have a look at the dates of when you had your reviews, because a lot of companies ask for a load of reviews in a specific window of a week and then don't ask for the rest of the year. And having a load of reviews in a very short time frame, again, could be questionable. So you want to regularly ask for reviews and then respond to them. As we talked about in the beginning, yes, you could be on Google My Business, you could be on Facebook, Trustpilot, be in as many platforms. 2 or 3 is quite a healthy amount. Then action number 4, speak directly to your customers. There's an opportunity, which obviously I don't have time to go through today, but Google My Business Messenger, where you're able to actually click and start having almost like a live chat in a way through your Google My Business. You can add blog posts to show you're active and that you're an authority or thought leader in that space. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment on the next slide. Ensure there are high quality images, videos. What images and what videos have you got coming up on your Google My Business there that captures the attention of people? And there's also a section which I can't show you today on here, we haven't got time, but there is an FAQ section which we talked about, the kind of questions and answers really that can be really useful. So here's an image, apologise for the blurriness here, but hopefully you get the idea. Now, yes, this is a restaurant, but I just want to give you, this applies to any type of business. So here you can see you've got your Google My Business, and then you've got underneath it some sort of call to actions, buy, learn more, where you've got actual articles or things that they've got on their website that capture your attention. So this could be anything. This could be your latest blog article about your eco cleaning products, or your latest article about a holiday you went on, or the tips and tricks to having a family holiday. Whatever it is, these are your opportunities to make your shop window essentially more enticing, there's more information there to engage with. So this is something that I see a lot of businesses just missing out on. They do the very bare minimum on their Google My Business, and they don't elevate it and take it to the next level. If you come across a business that has content that speaks directly to you, as you're searching through and looking at different competitors, you're more likely to engage with this particular business because of the effort that's been made in this almost virtual shop window, if you like. So that brings us nicely onto the 3 points as a recap of the 3 things you could be doing to get attention online. Number 1, gather, monitor, respond to online reviews. Don't just make the effort once a year, once a month. Continuously work to repurpose those reviews, share them. What else could you be doing with them? Because I guarantee with all of you, you could be doing more. Number 2, always be creating content for your target audience. We know how much it influences traffic coming to your website, people getting the perception that you're an authority in the space. You don't need to be somebody with an English degree or professional copywriter. It's worth just getting started and making the effort to try and capture that audience. And the final point is set up Google My Business. And if you have it, great, elevate it. Add blog articles, add different things you could be doing to capture the attention and to get far more out of it, because it is a free tool after all. Okay, so hopefully that was useful to some of you, to all of you. I'm going to go through to the bonus point that I promised at the beginning and why it was worthwhile staying on for. So bonus point doesn't specifically refer to online attention and tools. This is something I wanted to mention because for a lot of us, business is a bit quieter and we want to utilize this time to really get ahead. So when the business does come back, that we're ready for it. And this brings me on to my bonus point, which is review your customer onboarding process. So I'm going to come on to what I mean by that. Onboarding process, we mean so the entire journey from A to Z that your customer would experience. So why is this my bonus point? If I could be talking about anything, why did I bring this up? Well, like I said, there's no better time than now to review this. Onboarding is important because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression to people that come to you. It really handles that initial contact, the first impression, but it really doesn't end there. This is about reviewing any point in which maybe a customer can fall out of the sales funnel, essentially, and review that end-to-end route that provides that flow through for your customers from that first impression right through to purchasing and even after that point, after they purchase. So we're looking at the onboarding process and the actions that you need to take to do that. So map out your customers' pain points and what obstacles they face. What are the questions they ask as to why they might come across your business? For a moment, stop being you. Take yourself out of your shoes and put yourself into the shoes of someone else. Then go onto your website and critique it. Ask what the first impression is that they would have. People make a decision as to stay on your website or to leave literally within a couple of seconds. We typically, as digital marketers, look at 15-second rule. So within 15 seconds of looking at a website, close a website and ask yourself, what were the things that stood out to me in those 15 seconds? What would I know what to do next as a customer? Ask those critical questions. Look at how you're demonstrating value. So even after the first impression, how are you demonstrating that value? Through explainer videos, case studies? Are you giving statistics that give you weight? Are you using social proofing? What are you doing to demonstrate that value outside of just some copy that you've put on your website and some images? And then asking, how are you staying in communication, continuing to impress that? So with a customer coming to your website, maybe they leave an email address to subscribe to an e-newsletter in which you can then share weekly or monthly content that's not a sales pitch in any way. It is a way for you to continually impress them with being a thought leader in the space through projects that you're working on, through content that you're sharing. So how do you continually impress them? And they're the steps to take when you look at your custom onboarding process. Like I said, this is a really great time in which you can be doing this, because business might be a bit quieter than usual, perhaps it's not, but maybe it is, and therefore it's worth reviewing it now, ready for when things come back into play. I've just highlighted that one because this is a link which I came across, which was really useful on how to critique your website. It's very easy for us to be biased on our website, so maybe just have a look at the question. It goes through very cleverly, this article, on how to critique your own website and the questions you should be asking. So worth having a look at that. Okay, so that concludes the points that I wanted to go through, the 3 points and the bonus point at the end. I just wanted to finish up on you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. Something I found very useful running my own business and lots of different contexts is in writing down what your intention is. So maybe there's just one point that you took from today, maybe there's a couple, maybe there's all four, great. Write them down, give yourself some time frames on when you're going to do it, and maybe even think about what you would reward yourself by doing it. So if you completed by setting up your Google My Business today, reward yourself with going out for a walk or something, but write it down, commit to it, and it's much more likely to happen than just being here today and then going away and not taking any action. Even if you just took 1 point from today and go and run with it, that's going to make a difference to your business. So I believe we're going to open up the forum to some questions. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to add them below and we're going to give it our best shot to answer them. So Phil Ashcroft asked, how often should we be updating the blog? Okay, so basically, how often should we be updating the blog? So it's a really good question. In regards to, I guess it depends on ultimately how much time and resource you have as a business. But even if you just start out with once a month, that's a good place to start, or ideally recommend at least once a week. Obviously, the more the better. If you have the time in which to write a blog every day, brilliant. But we've got to be realistic about the time and resource we have. So I think it's worthy to focus on one a week to begin with. What I would say is before launching yourself into any blog, it's really worthwhile, like I said, taking the time to first think about your content strategy, the clusters we talked about, thinking about your pillar content and building out something that's going to be really worthwhile for your customers as opposed to just jumping in to do it. To answer the question, it's definitely, I'd say once a week's a healthy number to go for as a small business. Okay, another question. You said not to copy and paste reviews, but is it possible to copy a review from one place and post in another? So what I meant by not to copy and paste reviews, I mean, obviously you can do it, but for example, on a website, just copying in reviews doesn't have as much weight as if you're utilizing a platform like Trustpilot, for example, where they can pull real-time reviews and have the Trustpilot logo, which is a third party. So people often trust third-party tools a lot more. So that's what I meant by that. Is it possible to copy in a review from one place and post in another? Well, depends what we're talking about there. If you took your review from Google My Business and put it in a social graphic, for example, and just put underneath from Google, that wouldn't be a problem. However, there are things to be aware of, i.e. utilizing Trustpilot's logo if you're not an official customer of theirs. So we just got to be careful that it really depends on the context we're using it in. Okay, so somebody asked, I've not launched my business yet. What can I do today? So good question. There's a number of actionable points you could do. So for example, you haven't probably got customers to ask about reviews. That's fair enough. But learning the process and understanding the type of platforms you should be focusing on is a good start. You could definitely look at your content strategy. So having a look at the types of things people will be looking for, answering their pain points, their questions, and building out a content plan. Even if you haven't got your website yet, for example, you could still start writing the type of content and planning that out. You could predate 4 or 5 blog articles ready for when you are ready to go. And also the Google My Business side of things, you can practice that, understand the ways in which you should be doing that. So there's a number of things you could be doing. Another question we was asked, is it worth paying a pro for content? Well, if you have the budget to, great. Yes, it can absolutely be worth paying a pro for content. However, not everybody has that opportunity to do that. The benefits of that would be, if you're using a very good content writer, is saving you time, saving you a lot of time, but also they'll probably be familiar with better quality. You might be writing better quality content that gets attention. However, it's really important, if you work with a professional for writing the content for you, that you really explain the business, the type of customers, the pains. Just be wary about paying for professionals that just go run away and write any type of content that's not really going to be valuable for your business. Use this content cluster and the knowledge you've learned today to inform them on what actually you need them to be focusing on. Give them some direction. Looking at some other questions here. Is the free Canva good to use, or would you suggest to pay for an upgrade? Yeah, another good question. I mean, Canva is great in the free version. It's obviously limited on what you can do. So if you do have the budget to pay for the upgrade, brilliant. It's worth going ahead for that. But it's just really how often you use it. If you're going to be using it daily, definitely worth the pro. If you're not going to use it that often, then I would stay away from paying for the pro. So it just really depends on how often you're willing to use it to justify the investment that you're going to make. Can I use content in other people's articles as long as I refer to them? I copyright. Yes, so it's a good question. So even when I come to myself using content, I get a lot of inspiration from looking at what other people have done before. So it's not just about always reinventing the wheel. Using other people's content and reciting to them definitely can be done in articles, but you just obviously have to give them a link, a backlink into it. In some cases, you do have to. You do have to give them a backlink, or at least request first to use their article. But a lot of people are pretty all right with that. So as long as you do reference them in your article and specifically show that you're using their quotations, then that's absolutely fine. And sometimes it adds a lot of weight to the content. So that's a very good thing to do. We've also got questions, are weekly newsletters worth doing? So yeah, good question. I mean, in terms of weekly newsletters, again, it's great if you have the resource and ability to do that. Monthly can also be very valuable. If you're doing weekly, make sure that you're still sharing valuable content. Don't do it weekly just for the sake of doing it weekly. Not just thinking about the content of the newsletter, but if you're doing it weekly, really think about how you can build your subscribers list. How are you building a subscribers list? Are you making it really obvious in the website and giving people compelling reasons to do that? have you got a bit on your email signature which is pushing people to subscribe to you? What are you doing to constantly build that subscribers list to make sure that if you are doing weekly newsletters, that it's to a growing audience? If you're doing weekly newsletters, really think about the content that you're sharing, making sure it's always valuable, questioning the quality of it and engagement rate. Don't get into the habit that some companies do of just sending it out for the sake of it and getting lots of disengaged people and low open rates. Really invest the time to make that content valuable. And if that means that you can only do it once a month, then that's fine. It's better to focus on quality rather than quantity. Okay, so there's lots more questions, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So I really thank you all for being here. I really hope you found that useful. And like I said, write it down, think through what we talked about, and go and take the action. Even if you just do one, it's gonna make a difference to your business. So thank you.